Greetings and welcome back to another Weekly News Roundup, broadcasting from a random Walmart in a random small city in California. Because, yeah, where I was trying to go today wasn't actually open, even though my intel suggested it was. So, I had to drive a whole lot of extra time, land in a spot that I wasn't anticipating way later, and without nearly as good of internet connection. So, I'm not going to be monitoring the Matrix chat for that reason. I'm just going to have as few things connecting to my network as possible. So far, no drop frames, but we are good. And I didn't want to throw the Starlink dish out there on the roof, but we should be good. I mean, my upload's actually really good. It's my download that's having problems. And then I need to figure out where in the world I'm going to go from now, because, I can't overnight in this Walmart parking lot. Believe it or not as many Walmarts as friendly to that as you might have been led to believe from stories on the internet. But anyway, all that being said, we are going to carry on with the news today. And we are going to, of course, before we get into there, if you want to help support the channel, actually, before we get into that, we did post the short story for any supporters out there that like the short stories. We did post one of my favorites so far. That was posted today. It was actually ready to go a couple days ago, but I didn't want to post it and then bury the post behind the supporter call information. So I waited until this morning to push that out. So you can now access that. Of course, if you're not sure if you want to be a supporter for that, you can join as a free supporter on Locals and read the first chapter and see if you like that. Or you can buy the story with the audiobook for $3 on Patreon. So those are options that you have, and you can, I think I have all those linked in the description of the video. If not, they're over on the website, which is at switchedtolinux.com/support. And you can head on over there if you want to help support the channel. We have Patreon, Locals, Subscribestar, and a number of affiliates. We do not otherwise take sponsors on this show because, you never know. You might do something stupid and I will not be afraid to call you out, So just be aware of that. But you can help support the channel with those supporter networks. And for our first topic, what we want to talk about, give me just a second. Let me actually remember to hit my record button today. For our first topic in the Weekly News Roundup, we are going to be talking about privacy baby steps. And as we examine our privacy baby steps, the reason we want to do this is just a couple of articles that hit the news for me this week. And this one here is from Malwarebytes: How Scammers Use Your Data to Create Personalized Tricks That Work. Remember, if it's all just random stuff, and one of those factors too is you have to be very aware are you actually doing the things or using the services? Like, I'll get a lot of you have an unapproved Amex order. Confirm your link now. Well, I don't have an Amex card, so it's pretty clearly that's a scam. But, when they send something that is from an account that I actually do, I have to stop and think and pause. Is this legitimate or not? Typically not, because the emails I tend to get spam on are publicly facing business emails, and I do not attach any services to publicly available emails like that. So, typically those are coming to an email address that is not associated with an account that I might actually have at such a place. So that's one of those things you want to keep in mind. And I've actually been collecting spam emails for a little bit, so I will probably do a video soon on spam emails and giving you some tips on that. But with that being said, looking at this, how do they use your personalized data? Because, it's super personalized. It can trick you. It's very easy to do that. So effectively, they paint the picture of you, one that your friends, employers, and scammers can see. This is all dealing with these data brokers. And this is why data brokers need to be abolished. The entire data broker industry needs to be abolished globally. If these data brokers are not allowed to have your data, and it's very simple. Do you have my data? Yes. Am I doing business with you? No. Well, then you have no legal basis to have my data. Here is your $700 bajillion fine. And then you have to pay restitution, basically every a penny of money that you make for the rest of your living life, you must distribute to everyone whose data you stole. There you go. That's a justified thing. Or just, give them some capital punishment for such things. I'd be okay with that one too. But that being said, you have to watch out because your data footprint that is captured by people, these data footprints, these are actually going to be showing up in inside of the data broker's stuff, and this is why we have to take these baby steps. So we're going to cover a couple articles, and I'm going to give you some basic tips to talk about. So you have your footprint, your active footprint and your passive footprint. The active footprint is things you choose to share online. You go on to social media and you post a bunch of stuff on there, and guess what? It gets scraped up by data collectors, and that's one of those things that you have to be cautious of. So just be aware of that. And your passive footprint is all the stuff you leave behind without meaning to. Every website you visit, the cookies that track your clicks, the photos that tag GPS locations. When you take photos with your phone, unless you turn the features off, it tags geolocations. And those geolocations, they can be read by the social media companies, and the social media companies can do that. Now, it's not even just that, though. Google's imagery search can actually work super well now, that even if you do not geotag something with Google, then they can still tell exactly where you are at by using the context around where that photo is uploaded. And that's one of those another things you have to be very careful of posting stuff. Even if you are careful to strip that geolocations, still posting photos around your house that show the outside context clues of where you live can still de-anonymize your actual address. And you have to be careful of that. Those Google Street View cars can go around, and those can be indexed, and someone can take a photo from social media, drop it into these reverse indexes, and if a Google Earth car has driven by your house, it can actually tag your address, and without you even geotagging the thing itself. So you have to be very careful about anything you share, the apps you use, and things like that. And it says here, and this, you step in more stuff than you think. This is really the one that goes into the fine details. Social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok hold snapshots of your life and relationships. So I actually block all these. Here's the thing. Even if you do not use those services, you're like, well, TikTok's just brain dead degeneracy, which is true. I don't use an account, therefore they can't track me. Au contraire, they do still track you around the internet. They track you because any site which utilizes any form of TikToks, those taste good. TikTok, brain rot, all right? TikTok, teeth rot, TikTok, brain rot. There you go. And so, even if you're not using those and you visit a web page that even has like a TikTok button, a share button, any of that type of stuff on it, that, TikTok is utilizing the tracking pixels. Not only that, but also if any site is opting to embed the TikTok tracking pixel into their website code, those will attach a cookie and follow you around the internet. Guess what? Even if you're using a VPN, use a VPN for pure internet privacy. That doesn't work. That hasn't worked for years. And we'll get into why in one of our quick lines. That was just too good not to cover, that I just had to cover, even though it's an article we usually wouldn't. Just a warning now. We will have a family unfriendly article in the main quick line section near the end. But all that being said, the point here is that those things will still track you around the internet. They will develop clues about who you are. They will use session replay to see what you type. The only thing you can do about those is actively and explicitly block all of those trackers. You can do it with a custom DNS. You can do it in your host file. You can do it using the plugin like the No Track plugins. Privacy Badger is good at that. I think uBlock Origin might block those as well, but I know Privacy Badger does. I block those in a custom DNS that is hosted on my router, so everything on my network is invisible to LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Google Analytics, and things like that. All right. But all of those things, government databases, those are harder to opt out of. Company websites, news mentions that hold your name or location, forums, review sites, shopping accounts, and data brokers collect and sell huge bundles of personal data, sometimes packaging them into lists that anyone can buy. So they package all this stuff up and anyone can buy these things. All right, so alone, small details don't seem like much, a nickname here, a photo there, but when they're all stitched together and compiled by the data brokers, it combines a profile about you that scammers can buy that, and scammers do. They will buy that because the cost of buying one of these data brokered lists, and then they spam everybody inside of that list, if like 1 or 2 people fall for it, they will have made back a tenfold investment on that. They get 5 people, they are buying mansions in like Jamaica or something. Well, not right now, but you know what I mean. So how scammers collect your data, they do scraping. This is anything that is out there publicly. We do data breaches. We'll talk about Proton's data breach next as the main article, just because some mainstream media was apparently trying to smear it or something. It was weird. But anytime there's breaches, so this is a problem with all these companies forcing you to create an account. You should not be creating accounts in places you don't need them. Data brokers, of course, they are legally collect information. That should be illegal. Data broker industry should be abolished immediately. Just decimate it. Send them all on Snap for a year or 2 to figure out what they can do. Give them a government handout for a couple years while they figure out something better and more moral to do, like being bank robbers or something. I don't know. And then, of course, social engineering. This is really where they start with the information they have on you, and then they work towards manipulation, either gathering more information or actually starting to do the breach itself. They might be using social engineering in order to breach into your system some more. These are all options that are useful. And so real scams that the victims that use the victim's digital footprint. The AI voice scams. These ones, big hits on the grandmas out there, My grandma, I was in a car accident. Don't tell Mom, but I need $5,000 for bail. And it sounds perfectly like her. And Grandma's like, okay, dearie, what do I need to do? You need to go to the grocery store and grab some iTunes gift cards, $5,000 worth. Okay, Junior, I'm coming for you. Yeah, but that sounds outlandish, but that is an actual scams that have actually happened. So a good tip on this one is, particularly with the elderly in your family, make sure you talk to them about scams and set up family passwords. That way, if grandma's used to family password and, Grandma, I'm in a car accident. Password, please. Doris Umbridge, I don't have a password. Password, please. And if she's dog it on it, the scammer will be like, yeah, this one's a waste. Can't go any further on this one. Or you could really mess with them and have a fake password. Like, here's a fake password. If in case they breach yours or something. Yeah, there you go. That now grandma just starts messing with them for a while, texts somebody on the family on the other end, keeps them on the line, doing all sorts of weird stuff, figures out the drop, alerts them, all sorts of fun stuff like that. But, whatever it's worth. The Facebook photo gives away location. Okay, this is, I already mentioned this one here. AI can show where the photo is taken, even if you do not use GPS. This is why I do not post pictures that even have what you would think might be harmless backgrounds for things. Like, I post a lot of pictures of my travels on our Matrix server. I usually post those after I have left the place. So, I'm a van dweller. I don't care if you know where I've been. I just care if you know where I'm at right now. When scammers know just how to sound official. So Californians were hit with the wave of fake tax refund and texts and emails. Of course, there were the toll scammers. All of these were tied back to Chinese SIM farms, probably the ones found in New York City. Go figure. So earlier this year, let's see, I covered that one there, complete with government logos and correct refund amounts. This is the part that's really baffling, is how did the scammers get the exact correct amounts? How did the scammers get the exact correct amounts? Some of these DMV ones have pictures of license plates. Now they're AI attached onto the wrong car, but somehow scammers have photos of your license plates and they know the email address or the phone numbers that you're using to register those plates on. That's an interesting point. How is it that the scammers know how much money the government owes you back? There is a breach somewhere, and we don't know what it is. And I don't see a lot of people asking that question. So safes make a small digital footprint, share less on your own terms, arm your logins, find your exposure, evaluate trust, stay updated, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm going to provide a few more tips, but I have 2 more articles first to really illustrate the point. Now, we know about the info stealer campaigns. These are one of the most common ones where, they get malware installed on your computer and it will go through your browser and scrape stuff. And even the highly military-grade encryption inside of the browsers is no match for this stuff. They simply throw up an overlay in the back end and call for the information to be automatically input, and you don't even know what's happening. That's how the info stealers work. So this is why you shouldn't save passwords or sensitive information inside of your browser. Well, now Chrome is making it worse for all these data scrapers because it can now autofill your passport, driver's license number, and vehicle registration information, as if it wasn't easy enough for the scammers to know who to contact the DMV about the missed toll road, Now, they say they built in safeguards that you have to approve it before it autofills, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to get around pretty quick as well. So the Chrome browser can now fill in your passport, driver's license, vehicle registration, and even more as part of its autofill feature. Desktop users who have enhanced autofill enabled will see their passport, driver's license numbers, vehicle information like their license plate or VIN, and more automatically filled into web pages when you're prompted to enter them. This means that info stealer campaigns can now get even more information to link back to you. So this is a really bad thing, and you should turn off that advanced autofill. You should probably turn off all autofill, but it's so inconvenient to type my credit card every time. Stop being lazy. Okay, you're safer when you're not like that. All right. This was a good one here. Of course, phone location data of top EU officials were for sale, report finds. Of course, we do have this weird law in the United States that makes it illegal for a movie rental company like Blockbuster. Super relevant law these days. It's kind of like that one in Pennsylvania. If you're riding your car down a dirt road and you see a horse and buggy coming, you have to stop your car. And if the horse stops and looks at your car, you have to disassemble your car and hide it in the bushes. It's actually Pennsylvania law. A little antiquated there, especially since right now it's the horse and buggies are the ones on pariahs. But but all being said, looking at the laws on rental stuff, as soon as a congressman had his adult video content library leaked out, they passed a law really quick about that. And that's really what it's going to take. So I don't know, maybe this is a good thing here, but phone location data of top EU officials is for sale, according to a report. So journalists in Europe found it easy to spy on European Union officials using commercially obtained location history sold by data brokers. Look at that. A global ban would stop this. Despite the continent having some of the strongest data protection laws in the world. A coalition of reporters obtained the data set offered as a free sample from a data broker containing 278 million location data points from the phones of millions of people around Belgium. And where did this data come from? Ordinary apps installed on a person's phone. The apps you install on your phone through the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store are the most dangerous things for you. They collect this data, and there is no legitimate reason any of these people need to know your day-to-day regular location history, except to abuse it and to cause serious problems in your life. Data brokers have ballooned to a $1 billion industry involving sale and trade of people's location data and other private information. To counter some of this location tracking, Apple customers can anonymize their device identity, and Android owners can regularly reset their device identifiers. No, you know how useless this is? Okay, the phone's recording your data at your house. You reset it. Oh no, look at this. This user ID has the same apparent home location. I wonder whose data that is. Wow! Gravy Analytics had a data breach that exposed location data belonging to tens of millions of people, including where they have been and where they live and work. How wonderful. And that's precisely why we need to ban this industry. So for the remainder of our time on this section, I want to talk about some basic practical tips here. So here's a few basic practical tips. Number one, regarding your operating system, use Linux for everything you can. Now, there may very well be things you can't use Linux for. If you're a AAA online gamer, you might still need Windows. If you have to use, and we're not talking, this is the one I bought from Staples in 1989, I gotta have it running. Dude, get over it. Find an alternative. Now, if you have a legitimate job that says you have to use this Office suite and it only works on Mac or it only works on Windows, I understand that. But there is no earthly reason for your personal life you cannot be using Linux. And I think everybody should do that. You don't even need a separate computer. Just get yourself an external hard drive, throw Linux on the thing, pop the thing in the computer, turn it on, you're using Linux for your personal life. Pull the thing out, and boom, you're back to your Windows computer. There you go. As far as your phone goes, you should use a custom ROM without Google Play services. There's things I like about Lineage. There's things I like about Graphene. They're both really good. Just whatever you're using, do not install Google Play services. That is the thing that spies on you. Graphene has a good way to sandbox Google Play services. So in theory, it doesn't spy on anything you're doing, which is a good option as well. So you have that as far as something that you can do. Use custom ROMs. But it's so inconvenient. Yes, it is. It's also inconvenient when grandma is scammed out of $100,000 because they think that granddaughter has been in a car accident because the phone location data leaked and told them all about who you are and who grandma is. So utilizing that custom ROMs. And then while we're at it with the phones, do not use standard phone apps. Only use audited open source apps. Oftentimes on a phone, you can get away without apps like, oh, I need my banking app. You can do 99% of what's on that banking app with the web browser on your phone, which, by the way, you still should not be doing on your phone. You should be doing that on at least a dedicated browser on your computer, if not a dedicated computer itself, by using something like an external USB drive to install a banking-focused system on. Do not use standard phone apps. Life 360, it's an amazing app. I can keep track of all my family. Yeah, and every data broker can keep track on your family too. And then they sell that data to unscrupulous scammers who then will be able to tell you even what road granddaughter just had her car accident on because they've been tracking her regular location data. You know, and so you have to be careful with this. You know, Gas Buddy, find free gas, find the cheapest gas around you. Dude, you can do this without an app. Go to Google Maps, type in your area, and type in gas stations. It will give you a detailed list of every gas station and the current prices. You can sort it by price. And you can do that on a phone without an app. Did you know that? You do not need Gas Buddy to perpetually have location on. By the way, Gas Buddy was an advertising thing by Allstate to collect all your data because nobody wanted those creepy black boxes in their car to send all your data to the insurance companies. So what did they do? They created an app, gave you a thing like, we're going to save you money on gas by finding you the cheapest gas based on your current location. And then you just turn that on and they turned your phone to the very black box you didn't want to install. And then they use that data against you. Stop installing apps from the Google Play Store. You need to use apps that are only audited and open source and minimize the apps that you use. Utilize your website where possible. Be very cautious in giving out your phone number or your email address. And where possible, use disposable phones and disposable emails. Disposable emails are easier to do. You can set up an email and have that in your back pocket for some service. It's like, okay, I kind of need the service. They want an email address. Here, have my spam email. Of course, Proton comes with a number of spam fake emails that you can use. So that's always good. Disposable phones is harder to do, but it's doable. So you can go ahead and check those out. Also, I'm not sure if this is a violation of any terms of service on any streaming platforms, but using those ad blockers Firefox, and other means to reduce trackers on your web browser is really good. Privacy Badger is good on Firefox. uBlock Origin still works. The uBlock's Origin's neutered version still works on Chrome-based browsers. I think Brave still supports the full uBlock Origin as well. But utilizing apps like that would help you as well. Those are some basics for privacy, and I'd highly encourage you to take some of those basic steps in your life. With that, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts as we move to our next section. All right, we have Grayson Peddle with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've not had any data breach notifications from Have I Been Pwned yet. I can change my email address at any time without notice. Yes, there you go. That is pretty good. So with that, though, that's a pretty good lead into our second topic. For our second story here, I wanted to cover this, although it's not necessarily what we might call a larger story, but I wanted to cover it just because I caught the headlines. I looked at the headlines and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And it seems to turn out that many of the headlines were trying to probably in some ways smear Proton, maybe because it's not one of the big tech companies. But from Forbes, I wanted to cover the Forbes one because they actually changed their headline. They probably got called out on it somewhere. And it says, new Proton research exposes 300 million stolen credentials. Now, when I first saw this article, and I saw it the day it came out, which was November 2nd, the title on it was Proton exposes 300 million credentials. They left out the word stolen, and they left out the word research. And it almost sounded like that. In fact, I even, the story was interesting enough, and I even reposted it on Twitter or X or whatever you're calling it this week. And this particular article was community noted by saying, yeah, Proton did not have a data breach, which it did not. So just in the event you are thinking Proton had a data breach, they did not. This one was another one. Proton data breach exposes 300 million credentials on dark web markets. Oh my God, stop using Proton Mail. Use Google instead. Yeah, no. Proton did not have any form of data breach. All right, but some of those early articles seem to suggest they did. I don't know if they were just incompetent or if they were trying to smear Proton because Proton is a big privacy advocate. I'm not sure what the case happened to be, but Forbes eventually did edit their title. I did go into the Wayback Machine, and unfortunately the original title was not archived there. It could have been archived in some of the other places. I didn't check all those other ones. But anyway, what is this doing? Of course, here, updated November 1st with further analysis of how leaked stolen passwords are abused using genuine accounts in light of Proton exposure of 300 million credentials on the dark web market. This literally sounds like Proton Mail is like, hey, we have a giant database of all this stolen stuff. Come take it. This article is so biased against Proton. It's really funny. But here's effectively what Proton's doing. Proton created a database that is very much like Have I Been Pwned. It is effectively an alternative to how Have I Been Pwned. Now, I went on to Have I Been Pwned to find out how they categorize their data, and they actually have an FAQ about what is the breach data and where did it come from, and they answered what is the breach data, and the FAQ from Have I Been Pwned did not say where it came from. Proton is explicitly saying, yeah, we are hanging out on those dark market forums where people sell this stuff, and we might even buy the data with our own money just so that we can see what has been collected. And the reason they're doing this is because I think Have I Been Pwned more often collects it information. I think they are also getting it from the dark web, but I'm not sure if they're getting it as fast, or they could be getting it at the same time. It could be a direct competitor utilizing the same methods. I'm not 100% sure on where Have I Been Pwned gets their data from. But the point is that companies have data breaches, and oftentimes they do not want to disclose the data breaches. They hold it off as long as they can by law. They do whatever they can to stop information about the data breach. In some instances, PowerSchool is still effectively like, oh, what data breach? You got to pull teeth to get them to admit it, which is why the person that was actually ultimately sent to jail for this, they still haven't officially confirmed this was the case. So it's kind of weird. But what they're doing, since they're not waiting for the companies to announce the data breach, Proton is going onto the dark web markets to see what data is available and where it came from. And they're assembling their data, what they call their data breach observatory. So let's look at the Forbes article first. Swiss internet-based company outfit Proton has confirmed it has uncovered a total of 300 million credentials, with passwords appearing in 49% of them, using a dark web data breach observatory tool. Ultimately 300 million individual records exposed on the web by Proton Mail. Okay, this is not Proton exposed all of this information that you can see it. It is effectively the same thing as Have I Been Pwned. You can go in there, you can see the lists of data breaches. I'm not sure you can't go in and search for your particular address. Like Have I Been Pwned, you can search for your particular address. So it's a little bit different in that respect, but it might give a little bit more analytics instead of being focused on, is my email involved in a data breach? I think Proton's is more focused on what data was leaked out of individual bid companies, if you wanted to make a distinction between the two services. So the Proton Data Breach Observatory provides consumers and businesses with previously unobtainable transparency, Proton said, by drawing data from the criminals themselves. Now, there is an argument about if they're paying for this data, they are potentially empowering the criminals to keep stealing more, because they don't care what the intention is of the person who bought the data. They're criminals. They just want their money. The Cyber Press article has a little bit more detail. Proton is directly monitoring underground cyber criminal forums to identify and report data leaks in real time. That is something that is fairly unique here, is that they are effectively, as soon as data comes up available, Proton adds it to their database. Company's recent findings paint a concerning picture of the current threat landscape. Major corporations across multiple industries falling victim to sophisticated cyber attacks affecting telecommunications giants, giant financial institutions, technology companies, and transportation services spanning multiple continents. And so looking at what they're doing, this is actually the blog post about it. So only the biggest breaches make the news, which is true. Most go unnoticed, concealing the scale of ongoing cyber attacks. To empower business leaders with real-time intelligence, we're launching the world's first data breach observatory. This free public-facing hub will show exactly where the data is leaking onto the web, shining light on the state of global cybersecurity and helping organizations understand emerging risks. And so the actual observatory down here, you can actually see the latest one. So this one's October 11th. So only over a month ago. Has there been no data breaches in the last month? That was Qantas Airlines. 11.8 million records, compromised name, birth dates, physical addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. We have Allianz Life. We have Tricillo. We have Intersport France. Free. They freely gave up all your data. Look at that. Now, to actually get more information, you would to hit the download full list. Will take you to a page, and you actually have to give them some information to download it. So there you can actually get this, which will probably consent you to this. I'm not sure if this is required or not, but you'll get that. So maybe it's just a way for Proton to collect more information, but regardless, that's what they are getting at. Now, why is this kind of important? There are a lot of big data breaches that we're not hearing a lot about, including, this is a neat one here, pieing in on the flock cameras, which, by the way, may or may not be somewhat related to our short story. Lawmakers say stolen police logins are exposing flock surveillance cameras to hackers. So police they're just sharing their logins willy-nilly. In fact, in one instance, one government agency which was not supposed to have access was just handed their credentials by a buddy who's a police officer. So now that guy can go ahead and search up people without actually having any oversight to it. And there's actually forums on the dark web where you can buy Flock logins. And wouldn't you know it, unlike all of their talking to these city councils going, you only can see information related to your account. It's a bunch of BS because they actually say in here and in their marketing, by the way, their general marketing, search these things everywhere. See where all that person goes. Or in the words of that one unscrupulous police officer that needs to have his badge taken away from him and he needs to rot in a jail cell or something. You cannot move in our town. You cannot breathe in our town without us knowing it. Yeah, that's 1984, you moron. This is still United States. Go read your Constitution and give me your badge. All right. But over here, lawmakers have called on Flock for failing to have MFA, effectively. They're failing to implement cybersecurity protection to expose camera networks to hackers and spies. So Ron Wyden and whoever this person is, they actually are asking Flock to enable multi-factor authentication for everybody. Company says that that does not require it, which the company confirmed in October. However, they said after all the scrutiny that all new accounts require it. Now, it's not clear why they have not required it on all current accounts yet, but they haven't. But all new accounts require MFA. Will that go far enough? I don't know. I mean, a cop could still set up MFA with a couple different YubiKeys and still pass those YubiKeys to their buddies. There's MFA for you. But with these logins that are online or given to by their buddies, they can gain access to law enforcement only areas of Flock website and search the billions of Americans' photos collected by taxpayer funded cameras all across the country. Doesn't sound like it's just global, local stuff that your cameras do. Sounds like the people at Flock are lying in front of city council meetings. And if that's not a crime, it probably should be. I don't know. Flock's cameras can scan the license plates of passing vehicles. So police and federal agents with logins to Flock's platform can search billions of captured photos and track where vehicles have traveled at any given point in time. The lawmakers said that they have found evidence that some of Flock's law enforcement customers' logins have been previously stolen and shared online. So now hackers can do it. Russian cybercrime forums allegedly selling access to Flock logins, and Flock shared the company's response letter to from its chief legal officer, Dan Haley, in which he says the company switched on MFA by default for all new customers. And this is funny here. I'm not sure if TechCrunch is the one with the error here or if 404 Media is one of the error here. But it says the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has used local police officers' passwords to access Flock's cameras to search for individuals suspected of an immigration violation. Just trying to capture that SEO. The DEA doesn't have a lot to do with immigration enforcement. I think you mean ICE, but that is neither here nor there. Somebody made a mistake. I'm not sure if it was TechCrunch or 404 Media. And then, of course, if that's not enough data breaches for you, EY, this is a massive global national accounting firm. They had a 4 terabyte SQL backup of their entire database, unencrypted, on a Microsoft Azure platform. Hope you're not using EY to do your taxes because everything is there. Unencrypted, everything. Absolutely everything. And these are the reasons why Proton is doing what it is doing. They have created this observatory so they can track these types of things because these are all very serious cases. And as we're looking at all these very serious cases, we have to keep in mind that there are problems with all of this data being out there in the world. And ultimately, we have to take a lot of stronger stands to protect our data. I think the first thing we need to do is question why all this data needs to be on the internet. Question why all this data needs to be collected. Obviously, a tax firm probably needs more data than, your babysitter does. But that being said, it does not necessitate it all being available on the internet. There's no earthly reason a 4 terabyte SQL unencrypted database of a tax firm needs to be on the internet anywhere. All right, leave it to the local offices, do offline type stuff, because I got news for you. The European arm of EY does not need access to my U.S. taxpayer information. There's a thought too. So there's a lot of things that we could be doing about these, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's see. I see we had a little bit of a lag. I dropped 209 frames, 0.3% of this stream. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's jump on over to Rumble at 18. Viewers over there. We got Ivan's over there. We got Dan's over there. Let's see. That come through. XGUI4's over there. Greetings to you. Arch is greater than Debian. Maybe. I don't know. I had a shut off auto for more updates. Talked about it on the video. I was a moron. Oh, that was all your fault. All right. All right. Every time I try Arch, it breaks when I need it the most. Yeah, I'm no real problems. Of course, I have not updated my current Arch system for like 6 months, and I'm just like, I'm not sure I want to update it right now. I don't know. It might break. I don't know. Been on Pop! OS for a year now. There you go. VoIP. There you go. I use Hyperland, by the way. There you go. All right. We got 15 currently watching on Odyssey. We're having Odyssey this, and I don't see a whole lot of discussion going on over there. So XQE4's over there, Ivan's over there, and TechBore. Yeah, I'm sure those Flock logins were stolen and not sold. Yeah, probably. They were probably. Hey, stop telling truth. Stop telling the truth over here. All right. We got 55 on the 2Bs. We got Mr. Snipes. Greetings. We got, is it No One You Know, 1980? Well, you're an hour early. There you go. Yep. Commodore fans on. Greetings. All right. Let's see. I don't know what time it is. Dude, I went from Eastern time zone to the Pacific time zone and then into daylight savings time in a matter of 3 weeks. I have no idea what time it is. My body's so screwed up on time right now. I'm just going with it, you know? Oh, tired. Sleep. Okay. All right, I'm ready for the weekly news roundup. There you go. Okay, back with barbecue. Hey, barbecue chicken pizza. That sounds really good. I'm gonna make me. I have ground beef I need to use, but I think I'm gonna go nice and light and easy. I have some lunch meat in there. I'm gonna make a sandwich with lunch meat, I think. All right. Got a feeling Rockstar can barely get it to run currently on consoles without chugging. I'll be with PC any day. Let's see. GT6A being delayed, not surprising. Yeah, I've found every GTA game I've ever played was degenerate, so I can't stand it. A lot of games can run well, and some even better on Linux, Wine, and Proton. Yep. Is Proton Mail good? Yeah, I mean it's and I use it for one of my projects. We're using some Proton Mail stuff, and so you know I don't have any complaints. I use the free version because we don't need a lot for that project that we're doing. It's just to isolate emails into one specific location. So yeah, Ivan uses it on the paid services. Dinner, do you mean supper? I mean dinner because we never used supper. I had a friend that was raised Catholic, and so he had this very, very fairly prissy mother, and so it was dinner was lunch and supper was dinner, and I was always confused when I go over there. Are you staying for dinner? Are you staying for dinner? Like I don't know, and I need to be home by like 4. You know, no, dinner's in like an hour. Like what? Lunch? No, I mean dinner. I'm not a prissy Catholic. It is not supper. It is dinner. Yes. Super. Well, it's super that you have supper. All right, that's fine. Of course, I'm having fun, but you know, breakfast, dinner, supper. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were French. I don't know if they were French. I thought they were more English. But you never know. I don't know. I thought it was a Catholic thing, but maybe I have no idea. Let's see. You have a French-Canadian background, makes more sense. Most of us here are American. Yep. We called it supper in my home growing up. It's carried over from my family's days when we lived in Quebec. Yep. See, it's all them Canadians. It's all them Canadians. Eh? Let's see. I continue to call it supper because that's what we called it. That's cool, man. You do you. That's awesome. Looking at a new golf cart to replace mine that's going on 30 years old, but I think it's going to have the motor in mine rebuilt, just as new one is used of cars, not more. Yeah, I don't know. How long before they put data trackers on those too? Is the next season of Stranger Things I heard something about that, but I also heard they're all going to be like 30 years old or something. I mean, you got to remember, okay? It was the kid who played, who was the like the main leader kid? It's the same kid that was in the movie It. You know, they did Stranger Things about the same time they did It. That was 12 years ago. That is the entire time you go through primary up into secondary school in the United States. Are they still using the same actors? Are they still in school? Should this upside down be a time warp? I don't know. I have questions. But anyway. I watched first 2 seasons before getting rid of BS flicks. Not cared since. I just have the DVDs. Yes, I'm in California. Indeed. Clippy agreed. Data broker should be illegal. Yes. If I'm using ClamAV, using Linux, which is 80% not safe, and Reddit people comments, what other alternative antivirus is there? Linux is using Linux One, install Windows apps. Well, let's see. Linux using Linux Wine. So if you're installing Windows applications, like you're installing Wine, that is one of the few instances I would run an antivirus on Linux, but you do not need to run an antivirus on Linux for the most part. Usually like ClamAV would be inside of a server as files are going back and forth between different systems to identify malicious files. But as far as a personal computer, if you're using Linux, you know, most of what you're going to see come across will have no power on Linux unless, of course, you are installing Wine. Even then, it will be very well sandboxed. But even that which isn't, traditional forms of malware are not going to be picked up by something like a ClamAV, most likely. Which is why, you know, a lot of big tech channels like Linus Tech Tips can also still get hacked too. Rust is a Trojan horse. Okay, I upload my photos to Nextcloud. There you go. My smartphone runs Graphene OS. There you go. That's a good way to do it. Awesome. How safe is banking online using Linux today? But do you use a private browser, Firefox Opera, using a VPN? Okay, so I have a whole video. If you go to my channel and search for banking Linux, I actually have a couple different videos on doing this. So I just used an external USB drive and I install a lightweight Linux on it. So my current one runs Peppermint. I have a backup for if that one goes bad, which is going to be Linux Mint why am I forgetting the name of that one? Not LXDE, XFCE, there it is. Linux Mint XFCE. And then what I do is I use the PWAs, basically using the web apps feature of that to put each one of the banking applications I'm using into its own isolated container. So none of the banking apps can see any of the other banking apps. It's on a dedicated computer that does nothing but banking. And so it's not going to be susceptible to any other things going on the computer the rest of the time. And so as far as how safe it is extraordinarily safe if you're isolating it like that. If you don't have the resources to do that, at least definitely do a different browser. And, keep that explicitly there and never save any cookies, logins, or anything like that. In the event an info stealer gets in there, you do not want them stealing access to your bank accounts. All right, not on my home network. They don't track me at all. Yep, there you go. No script uBlock Origin running in my Firefox web browser and CacheOS. There you go. From Microsoft, probably. Let's see. Mine's network level 2. I also do stuff to Firefox. Just subscribe to Delete Me service through Twit's sponsor. There you go. All right. Can you use any run on Linux to check online hacker attacks? See what files are safe, e.g., saving your banking data online using USB flash drive. Yeah, I think I addressed most of that in my previous statements about banking Linux. But as far as checking what files are safe, there are places like I think Trend Micro still has a place where you can upload a file to a web browser and check it for viruses. I think they still have that. About 300 email addresses, aliases for my own domain name. Yep. Thankfully, my mother would never fall for that BS. Yeah, I have a mother on Manjaro GNOME Linux for her PC. That's right. That's how your grandma should pick up the phone. If you're a scammer, no, I'm on Manjaro GNOME Linux. The scammer's like, I ain't messing with grandma. Later. Okay. This year, my mom asked me what to do with your computer has been blocked. I right-click and the taskbar of the taskmaster killed Chrome and restarted to a clean slate. There you go. Yep. Moved my family away from Windows around 2013. Made the full switch in 2015 when gaming was good enough on Steam. I gave away a scammer's phone number to Devier. Hey, I got a scammer to call the police on himself once. That was fun. All right, Chrome suck. Let's see. Who needs this crap? In autofill, yep. I disable autofill, yep. Not giving Google that information, yep. Don't put my credit card number on the web browser, not safe, yep. Bad enough they know where I go using Google Maps. Yeah, I mean, and I don't use Google Maps logged in. For clarity, yes, I do use Google Maps for some of my mapping because it's like, use OpenStreetMaps. I use OpenStreetMaps on some functions, but OpenStreetMaps is not a mapping resource for navigating in the United States. It is woefully inadequate for navigating the United States. It's better for trails, offline generalities and things, but Google Maps has a lot of useful information. I just make sure I never use it from any computer that is logged into any Google service. That's what you can do. Carrier is locked. I think I can install Graphene OS. Yeah, if you bought your phone from a carrier, you would have to verify. Now, if you're in Canada, though, you might have different laws. In the United States, as long as your phone is paid off, your carrier is supposed to be able to unlock your phone. I don't know what the laws are in Canada. What? No Windows 7 Pro? No, I'm not on Windows 7 Pro. Thank you again for the super chat, Grayson Petty. Petty? There you go. Okay. Could run Graphene OS on my Pixel 8a, but I need some Google stuff for work. Yeah. You can do the different profiles, but in one of our guys was testing it out and was a lot of problems. So be aware of that. Graphene OS can run Google Play in the sandbox. Donald Plastic has no bank account. There you go. I don't do online banking on my smartphone. That's wise. Gas Buddy. I don't have a motor vehicle anyway. Well, I guess you don't need Gas Buddy then, but be careful of Life 360. That was the other one that was using that same stuff. Okay. A lot of emails. Now I want your phone number and a second email as a link. Yeah, I tend to avoid that kind of stuff. Not a fan of that serif font in the article's heading. I have trouble with reading that. Let's see. Start Mail come up with data breach notification. Yeah, Start Mail's pretty good from what I understand too. I don't think Gmail wasn't breached, but there were a lot of Gmail accounts were found from mostly cred stuffing stuff. It looks like I've been I'm going to pause my comments right there because it looks like I've been on comments for like 15 minutes now. So let's go ahead and get back to the main news. All right, so we're going to switch on over to our QuickLines, and then we will catch up the rest of the comments and feed the beasts and all that kind of fun stuff. So on to QuickLines. Sling TV turned privacy into a game you were not meant to win. This is fun. California Attorney General settles with them over allegations that blocked users from exercising their privacy rights under the California rights. Company will pay $530,000 after being accused of making it difficult for customers to opt out of its data collection practices. This is really funny, actually, because I'm in California right now. And so when I looked up, okay, which one's Sling TV again? It's like basically the one that allows you to do a $60 a month subscription service for the live TV programs. Like, it's not worse than cable was. But anyway, I go in there to Sling TV's website. I think is it sling.com, I think. I go to there and we actually had our guys check this last night. I'm the only one that got it, being that right now I have a California IP address. So it detects a California IP address, which you see at the top of the site. And on the bottom of the cookie notice, there's another gray box in there that honors my web browser's privacy tracking preferences. And nobody else got that because nobody else is in California. And this is exactly what Louis Rosson's point is. It's easy enough for them to honor people's requests not to be tracked, but they don't do it where they don't have to. In other words, they have more lines of code to honor the opt-out requests from California IP addresses than they do from anywhere else, because those don't have a law against it. That is ridiculous. But it was actually a funny thing that we all looked at last night, because being in California, I got the notice at the bottom saying that Sling TV is going to honor my privacy preferences according to my opt-out in my web browser. Just because I had a California IP address. Nobody else had that experience. So I guess they're running scared of California right now, I gotta say. You might want to think about doing a California location on your VPN, just saying. So when users attempted to opt out of having their data shared, Sling redirected them to a page for cookie settings. And then they actually had to share a form, which their logged in account should have autofilled. Users could not opt out from connected devices either. They had to manually type a complex URL into a separate browser, the complaint said. They also collected information on children when they even knew they were children. The complaint says that Sling TV uses data about the presence of children in the household, and in some cases their age ranges, to build specific groups of viewers that can be targeted for cross-context behavioral advertising. And then falling subscriber numbers, rising revenue. Sling has been losing subscribers fast, down to 1.78 million, but still making more money. Why? Advertising. Wonderful. And then the settlement changes requires them to stop sending users who opt out of cookie settings pages, stop requiring logged in users to fill out forms with data it already holds, and add a direct opt-out mechanism to the app. It must also let parents create kids profiles and explain how to protect children's privacy. So there you go. Gemini Deep Research can now tap into your Gmail and your Google Drive. Isn't that wonderful, folks? I think they have actually claimed in here that it's not going to train the AI on your data, which I find woefully, I just hard to believe. I'm not going to say it's misleading. I don't know if that's true. I just find it hard to believe. Google has this massive source of your data, and it doesn't want to use it to train its AI that it wants to train. And we actually will have a, where's it at? It might be in SillyVille. I think it might be in SillyVille. I don't know. We have another thing about Google's AI coming up here. But after adding PDF support in May, Gemini Deep Research can now directly tap information stored in your Gmail and your Google chat conversations, as well as your Google Drive files. Isn't that wonderful? Hey, Deep Research in Gmail. Hunt through everything. And Google's sitting there going, oh, I've been waiting for you to say that all my life. Give me all that sweet data. We don't use it for training your AI. We just use it to supplement your data profile. All right, to access select deep research from Gemini's tools for a new sources drop down where search web is joined by Gmail, Drive, and Chat. This is live on gemini.google.com and rolling out to the mobile app in the coming days. I believe this is turned off by default, but just so you're aware of it, that is now a feature that you could actually turn on, or that is now a feature that might automatically turn itself on in the future, but I don't know. Fake chat GPT apps are everywhere. Attack of the clones. So the mobile AI gold rush has flooded app stores with lookalikes, shiny convincing apps, promising AI image generation, smart chat, or instant productivity. But behind the flashy logos lurks a spectrum of fake apps, from harmless copycats to outright spyware. A quick scan of the app stores in 2025 shows an explosion of AI apps. As AppNox research reveals, the clones have a wide spectrum. Harmless wrappers, simply wrappers, legitimate AI APIs with basic add-ons like themes. Not a huge deal in those ones. Then there's the ad-aware ones. They abuse AI branding to profit from ads. So the DALL-E image generation clone mimics OpenAI's look, delivers nothing but aggressive ad traffic. Its purpose is funneling user data into advertisers under the guise of intelligent packages. There you go. And it is detected as adware, malware disguised as AI tools, of course. Like the WhatsApp Plus used spoof certificates and obfuscated code to smuggle spyware into devices. Once installed, these apps scrape contacts, intercept SMS messages like one-time passwords, and quietly send everything to criminals via cloud services. There you go. So stay away from them. Of course, download only from official stores. Yeah. But yeah, definitely don't download apps from ads, messages, or social media posts. You're asking for danger. GitHub, or find reputable places. Even GitHub, though, you got to be careful. Make sure you know who the legitimate one is. Read the reviews, but carefully. Check the developer name as if you know who that is. Limit the permissions. That's where graphene's useful. Like, graphene has a function where if something needs your contacts, you're like, I don't think you need my contacts. You can actually spoof the contacts, so it thinks it has access to your contacts, but it gets gibberish instead. It's kind of fun. All right. So there you go. Android apps are misusing NFC and HCE to steal payment data is on the rise. Isn't that wonderful? And so this is an interesting timeline, though. Looking at August 24 to September 25, we see it shot way up here in June, and then it kind of fell back down to kind of baseline levels. So still going up, but not nearly as high as this trend line suggests. There's some anomaly up here in June that I didn't see explained. Maybe it's something that was spreading around that was stopped pretty quick. But the challenge here is 760 Android apps are abusing near-field communication and host card emulation to steal payment data and commit fraud. Yeah, this is why I turn that crap off, and I use a Ridge wallet to make sure that my all of my cards are completely protected from any device like this that gets somewhat close. In fact, I remember a friend of mine, before he even actually knew what the NFC technology was, we went out to a Perkins, and he's buying lunch, and he just holds his card kind of near the terminal looking at what the cost was, and all of a sudden it's like, bing, payment comes. He's like, dude, I never put my card in. And I had to explain to him, look for that wireless looking symbol, and if you put that thing near a payment, it will process. Well, you can buy the equipment to do that online pretty cheap, and for a Saturday afternoon, you can attach a Raspberry Pi, throw that thing in a little bag or purse, and you can walk down the street, and you can steal a bunch of people's credit card information, which you shouldn't do, but that is the level that is dangerous stuff. That should not be forced on everybody's credit cards. But I use a Ridge wallet, which protects that, and I did actually test it very well. I actually took everything out, and I take that card inside the Ridge wallet, put it near that thing at a gas pump, doesn't find nothing. So make sure you are using, in this modern age of having all of these cards with the NFC technology built in and those little wireless chips, make sure you have a wallet or a place to hold those that does not allow the close transmission of that data unless you take that card out first. Otherwise, you're asking for some trouble. So The growth of tap-to-pay transaction NFC has become increasingly attractive target for cyber criminals. These malicious applications exploit Android's NFC permissions to steal payment data directly from the victim's devices. So there's A, always turn off NFC on your phone. I never keep that turned on. B, don't store your credit card information in your phones anyway. That's retarded. Don't do that. All right. Moving on. Unexpectedly, a deer briefly entered the family room. Living with Gemini Home. This is the one. It's not SillyVille. It's this one. All right. So this is, of course, Gemini Home pushed out. It unleashes generative AI on your Nest camera footage. Now, you get this hoisted upon you if you buy the Nest camera feature package that gives you 60 days of footage storage. So if you want to store your footage for 60 days, they've just hoisted this generative AI upon you, and it starts reading all your stuff. Now, once again, they allege your data is not being sent back to Google for training purposes. I find that, again, hard to believe, but okay, that's what they claim. So even if you don't go looking for AI bots, they're being integrated into virtually every product and service. And for what? There's a lot of hand-waving chatter about this agentic this and AGI that, but what can Gen AI do right now? Turns out a lot of chaos. Anyone paying for extended video history in the Home app is about to get a heaping help of AI, including daily summaries and AI-labeled notifications and more, which are woefully inadequate, by the way. According to Google, it does not send your video data to Gemini. It doesn't send all your Google data to Gemini. That would be a huge waste of compute cycles. Gemini only sees and summarizes event clips, so things that look out of the ordinary. Here's actually the options. So you can pay $200 a year for all this nonsense. You pay $100 a year for this nonsense. All right. So paying for Google's AI-infused subscription also adds Ask Home, a conversational chatbot that can answer questions about what has happened in your home based on the status of the smart home device and your video footage. You know, I'm looking at this going, what in the hell is the point? Okay. 15 years ago. No. Longer than 15 years ago. What year is it? It's 2025. Longer than 15 years ago. I had security cameras in my house that were all IP-based cameras. And I had those cameras set up that if something triggered the camera, it simply sent me the picture to my phone. Very simple. I didn't need to, hey Google, what's going on at my house? Well, 3 cars have driven by and some Mormon dropped off a pamphlet on your front porch, blah, blah, blah. It just sends the picture and it shows up. I can look at it and go, oh, okay, a Mormon showed up. Gotcha. All right. So that's it. Like, what? We do not need this. This is nonsense, garbage, a waste of power, a waste of resources, a waste of time. This is just stupid. Okay, the advanced plan for Gemini Home keeps your videos for 60 days. You can only query the robot on clips in that period of time. Google also says it does not retain any of the video for training. They say. Okay. And of course, they had an unexpected deer show up in their living room. So getting one of the daily briefs, it says this. Around midday, a person exited the house with a dog, and unexpectedly, a deer briefly entered the family room. Okay, then. I hope a deer is not in my family room. Where do I live? The middle of the Appalachian Mountains? I left the door open. The deer came in for a graze. Maybe lick my salt. I don't know. So the deer situation serves as a keen reminder the new type of AI doesn't think, although the industry's use of that term to describe simulated reasoning that could lead you to believe otherwise. Effectively, it was the dog walked in the living room. It thinks the dog's a deer. Gemini, though, is great at recognizing car models and brand logos. Make of that what you will. Okay. So the Lexus pulled up. Okay. The Mormon driving the Lexus pulled up. Gotcha. All right. Google also says you can tune the AI by correcting it when it screws up. This works sometimes, but the system still doesn't truly understand anything that's beyond the capabilities of the generative AI model. And when Gemini mislabels an event clip, you can end up with some pretty distressing alerts. Imagine you're out and about and your Gemini assistant hits you with a notification telling you a person was just seen in the family room. Now, a person roaming around your house that you believe is empty, that's very alarming. So you get this. A person, live video, open on the phone, blah, blah, blah. You know, if the thing just sends you, I don't know, that picture like my antiquated garbage could do 15, 20 years ago, send me the picture. Oh, it's a shadow was cast across the, the thing, whatever. Rather than getting this, a person has entered the family room. Where's the button for turn on booby traps? I need that button. Turn on booby traps. Which, by the way, don't do that. It's actually illegal to booby trap your house, believe it or not. It is illegal to booby trap your own house. That shouldn't be, but okay. It may be alarming at first, but after a few false positives, you grow to distrust the robot. Now, even if Gemini correctly identifies a random person in the house, I'd probably ignore it. So here is a case where the AI has Maslovically conditioned a person to ignore a potential security warning. I never had that issue when the thing was sending me pictures. I just, oh, look, a picture. Oh, useless picture. Gotcha. But now we have the AI is so bad, it's conditioning you to ignore the potential alerts. Gemini often twists reality just a bit instead of creating it from a whole cloth. A person holding anything in the background is in the backyard is doing yard work. One person anywhere doing anything becomes several people. A dog toy becomes a cat lying in the sun. A couple of birds become a raccoon. And Gemini likes to ignore things too, like denying there was a package delivery even when there's a video tagged as person delivers package. So were any packages, here's him communicating with his Gemini. Were any packages delivered today? I'm sorry, I've checked the camera history again. Still shows no package delivered today. Perhaps the notification you recall was for a different day or different type of event. At 5:58 p.m., what happened at the front door? At 5:58 p.m. today, a person in uniform delivered a package to your front door. Gotcha. All solved if you just send me the picture of a person delivering a package to my front door. Okay. Learning as it goes. The company also believes having people add custom instructions is a critical piece to the puzzle, so you have to instruct your AI rather than, just looking at the picture. Despite its intention to improve Gemini for home, Google is releasing a product that just doesn't work well out of the box. It misbehaves in ways that are generally off-putting. And for all this, you pay $20 a month for a service that barely works. This is nonsense, folks. All right, well, teenage boys are using personalized AI for therapy and romance, according to a survey. Oh, dear. So we've got a situation here. Lots of parents still think their teenagers are just using AI to cheat on their homework. Oh, good. My kids are just using AI to cheat on their homework. Nah! He's listening to NSYNC, particularly the song Digital Digital Get Down. All right. Young people are using a lot more than an assistant in their pocket, a therapist when they're struggling, a companion when they want to be validated, and even sometimes ways. It's not that personalization aspect they're saying. It understands me. My parents don't. Isn't that the most teenage thing you can think of? The most dangerous thing you can think of? Every person who harms teenagers, the teenager, when they come to the realization that they have been harmed, they have been abused, they have been groomed, every one of them, I thought that person understood me more than my parents. The AI is a sociopathic model seeking only to keep the user engaged. And it is working to the point where the kid thinks that the AI understands him, which it doesn't understand anything, whereas parents don't. That is precisely why AI needs to be banned for kids. That's why kids need to be off the internet. I know you're 17. You can't get on the internet until you're 18. You'll thank me for it later. Trust me. 53% of teenage boys said they found the online world more rewarding than the real world. So 53% are using this. Some boys reported staying up until the early hours of the morning to talk to AI bots, and others said they had seen personalities of friends completely change after they were sucked into the AI world. Andy Burroughs, chief executive of Molly Rose Foundation, set up in the name of Molly Russell, who took her own life after falling into the vortex of despair on social media. Welcome move. He said, character AI should never have made its product available for children until and unless it was safe and appropriate for them to use. And that's kind of my whole point, is that these companies are just pushing this crap out into the world before we have laws to determine who's liable, before we have safeguards in place. It's a mad rush to get whatever we can to the market first to make as much money as we can. And this is a fundamental flawed problem with the system. The organization is also worried about the rise of AI girlfriends, with users able to personally select anything from physical appearance to the demeanor of their online partners. How wonderful it is. Of course, Elon Musk's version of this crap, you can, you convince it enough and it'll striptease for you. What's the message there? Studio Ghibli and other Japanese publishers want OpenAI to stop training on their work. Maybe it's a little too late. Maybe they should have taken stronger action sooner. Japanese trade organization representing the Studio Ghibli wrote a letter to OpenAI calling for the AI giant to stop training its AI models on the copyrighted content without permission. Of course, even Sam Altman changed his profile picture to a Studio Ghibli version of himself. So there you go. OpenAI's approach to working with copyrighted content has been to ask forgiveness, not permission. And that is a fundamental moral flaw. When you live your life seeking permission and not seeking forgiveness and not permission, I should say, when you live your life that way, you have a serious moral flaw. You have no concern for anyone else until you get called out on something. This is a fundamental flaw. And when companies start doing this, it produces the most abusive technology there is. And we hoist this upon our world. And that's a problem. The approach has yielded complaints from Nintendo, as well as the estates of Martin Luther King Jr., who could very easily be deepfaked on the Sora app. So I don't know. We'll see if Studio Ghibli styled memes stop or not. I don't know. We'll see. Google makes the first Play Store changes after losing Epic Games antitrust case. All right, so of course, this one here is where Google is forced to have other Play Stores and forced to allow alternative payment methods outside of their own means of payment. Google, however, engaged in conduct that amounted in suppressing development of the alternative Android app stores, which I disagree with that. I think this court ruling was screwed up because they've always allowed third-party app stores. They've always have. That would be Apple, which curiously Apple was deemed to not be the monopoly on the App Store in the United States, whereas Google was. That tells you everything about the American legal system. Something's screwed up here. All right, so this could hypothetically allow developers to offer lower prices so they don't have to pay for Google's commission. This deals with the concept of having alternative payment methods in. They don't have to pay Google's permission, which means they could charge lower prices. Unfortunately, the challenge here is that it doesn't really matter because Google's planned developer verification system will force all developers, even those distributing outside of the Play Store, to confirm their identities with Google and pay a processing fee. Apps from unverified developers will not be installable on Google certified devices. This policy needs to be completely shut down. And I believe, fortunately, I think there's lawsuits about this already, but we'll see. This is the anti-competitive process. Google was not anti-competitive until this. Because I've always had the option to do Aurora Store. I've always had the option to do F-Droid. I've always had the option to do a whole lot of other stores. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. This is the problem. All right. This one here is the not family friendly. Let's do the family friendly one first, and then our last article in QuickLines is not family friendly. Just a warning. So we'll do this one first. If you're using Proton's VPN, there is a new Linux CLI application is still here. So this is nice. It actually would allow you to run a script on boot up to make sure that you are attached to whatever nation state you want your VPN to be attached to before anything else starts. So there you go. The Proton VPN CLI app is in beta, and you can actually use it on Ubuntu, Debian, and Fedora. It utilizes the WireGuard protocol, so be aware of that. And the initial step, they say, was a bit tricky, especially for a GUI first user like me, but running Proton VPN-H made it relatively simple to figure out how to sign in and to connect to servers. So they have a version of it for Debian, Ubuntu, and Fedora, and they have the installation instructions down here at the bottom. So let's see, install this. Okay, so that one's there. Do they actually have a repo, or is this in the repositories? Let me check this. Because unless it's installed there, let's see. Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. It's like, okay, something's missing here. Okay, we have to add the repository. There's the Debian repository. Okay, there's a separate page for each one. So go back to the article I have. All the articles are in the bottom, and just click on the link for the system you want. All right, so this one here, we're going to keep this as family-friendly as we can, but it's not inherently a family-friendly article. And this is the rise of the adult content trolls. All right, how one adult content platform made millions of dollars suing its viewers. This, of course, deals with the concept of content trolls, but I was just reading this article. It's just fascinating. So it turns out that this guy they started with, Tom Brown, fake name, retired police officer from Seattle, received a letter from Comcast that he might have mistaken for a broadband bill. Instead, it was a subpoena. They are alleging that he illegally downloaded 80 individual movies. Some of them were fairly benign titles, and some of them maybe not. And I'm not going to read any of those that are not highlighted by my system. So he said he spent decades investigating S crimes, claimed he had never watched any of them. His years dealing with the pimping he wrote in a court filing left him with no interest in the adult content industry. Of course, all of this deals with a big holding company called Strike 3 Holdings has come up and bought a lot of access to a lot of these companies. So now basically they have effectively a black box software which they allege tells them who is downloading their materials illegally. And we really don't have any information about how that black box works. And the problem is most people, when they are being sued for illegally downloading adult content videos, rather than going through a public court case, most of them will settle out of case. So the judges involved in this are saying, yeah, they found this kind of trifecta. I'm going to skip that picture. The trifecta of this is effectively the shame of it all, the fact many people are doing this anyway, and so it could be legitimate, and the fact that if you take it to court and lose, you could be paying millions, where if you just settle, it could just be like $10,000. And that really is the circumstance here. And so they started out by trying to do like a subscription service for their smut. But when that really didn't work, they simply just started turning to people who were downloading it on torrent sites instead. Utilizing the, contacting VPN, suing a John Doe, not the VPN, the ISP. They sue the John Doe. They go to Comcast to de-anonymize it. The problem here, and where most people could simply push back in a very simple court filing, saying, yeah, I reject, this is not me. And by the way, an IP address is not, in United States law, an IP address is not sufficient for a court ruling. This, by the way, is why Microsoft wants everybody verified on a Microsoft account every single time you touch your computer. Because now they know exactly who you are. They're not relying on an IP address. IP addresses have not been a valid way to track people for a long time, which is why, by and large, the use a VPN for privacy industry is a bunch of nonsense. Stop buying VPNs from people promising it's protecting you on the internet. No, it stops your ISP from seeing what you're doing. It doesn't stop anybody else from seeing what you're doing. But in rulings of this, that is not the case. Now, effectively, the court said that in one particular court in Texas, So many of these court cases came through. They were all clearly boilerplate. Every single judge had entire days of nothing but dealing with these. And nearly every one of them settles outside of court. Only a couple of people try to challenge them. The only person who has successfully beat them so far is Tom Brown. He goes in and says, nope, not doing it. He proved his case. He illustrated from other case law that an IP is not enough. He alleges he didn't do that. They were not able to provide any information. He won the case, and in his case, they end up having to pay him $47,000 in attorney's fees to defend himself. I wish the judge would have slapped them silly with another maybe $500 million in punitive fines or something, because effectively they're just utilizing the court system in a new business model, which is becoming all too popular, which we absolutely need laws against copyright trolling. Absolutely need laws against it. But they've right now have a good thing going. Well, at least until now, they say down here, some judges are furious at how many strike-through cases are being filed, armed with hundreds of cut-and-paste complaints and boilerplate discovery motions. Strike-3 floods the courthouse and others around the country with lawsuits smacking of extortion. District Judge Royce Lamberth wrote, it treats the court not as a citadel of justice, but as an ATM. Yeah, do something about it. You're a judge. Work closely with your legislators to stop it. This is, I really enjoyed how Cloudflare was going against these guys. It made me actually respect them. So Strike 3 tells it the lawsuits are merely a defense against piracy. The films the company claims are among the most pirated content in the world, though they did not provide evidence for that. And they say, let's see, critics see Strike 3 differently. The country's leading copyright troll, or as a rights holder who treats litigation as a business model. Though copyright law allows for statutory damages up to $150,000 per film, in reality, most defendants pay about $750 per title, according to Vondran. But for several dozen titles, that quickly becomes settlements of $20,000 to $30,000. They usually want minimum, what I call five-figure settlements, $10,000 or more. Well, I think they wait to get at least 24 movies before they sue you, because that takes them right into that zone. Even if only half of their cases settle in a given year, they could collect between $20 and $30 million in fees. They have some discussion about the rise of copyright trolling and actually where Strike 3 came from, which was actually tied to a couple other ones. What was the name of it? This is actually the state. These trolls had discovered the nexus of antiquated copyright laws, paralyzing social stigma, and unaffordable defense costs. And that is the basis of passing a law against us. This is easily stoppable with simple laws. Now, what happened, though, is that the first company that was going against these was Prenda Law, which it turned out that the main directors of Prenda Law were actually arrested and charged on fraud, perjury, and money laundering. And so they ended up getting out, but somebody else, one other person involved is who ended up working with another company. Let's see, Malibu Media's copyright claim. They end up having a lot of issues and they end up closing down. And then ultimately Strike 3 came up, bought all of their individual assets, and then come in. Now, here is where I'm all for this fight here. They say only 10 or so people have even tried. One of them was Brown, the retired cop. Shortly after receiving his subpoena, he countersued the company for negligent emotional stress. He hired the intellectual property rights lawyer, C. Curtis Edmonston, and a recurring figure on Strike 3 circuit of the maybe 10 cases that have gone the distance, as he puts it, to litigate Strike 3's allegation. Edmondson has represented all but one. Effectively, they talk about one, IP addresses are notoriously fickle, easy to spoof an IP address through a VPN or to use somebody else's address via malware that bypasses passwords. More to the point, an IP litigation director at EFF points out in a lot of cases, many people are using the same IP address, and given that may be shared between roommates, colleagues, or family members, which has actually led to the fact that laws are passed that IP alone is not enough to ask to demask somebody. There's too many problems with it. I think that's this one here. Cobbler, Nevada versus Gonzalez went to the Ninth Circuit, ruled IP addresses alone were insufficient for identifying infringement. In order to state a claim, justices wrote the plaintiffs had to allege something more, some additional evidence to establish a reasonable inference that a subscriber is also an infringer. This is, by the way, what Microsoft System is going to allow you to do. So beware if you're using Microsoft. Of course, don't do illegal stuff. That would simply be solved. Brown found himself in a similar situation. Turned out the retired cop had an adult son lived at home. It all turned out it was his adult son. But he still won the case because they didn't sue his son. They sued him. And that was their mistake. That cost them $47,777 in attorney's fees. Frankly, I think it should have been infinitely. I think it should have been so expensive, they lost 5 years worth of profits. If they lose a case, they lose 5 years worth of profits, they'll stop. There's a thought. The big problem here is the black box software. Though Edmondson, the real question is the hardest strike 3 cases and others like it concerns the detection software used to identify those downloading the videos. The corporate entities, people, software, and processes relied upon to prove infringement and wrote are somewhat shadowy and opaque. The question is, what is inside this black box? They will not tell us. They will not release the source code. We don't know what it is or how it works. Since it's never gone to trial, the company's never had to disclose the source code or submit the software to closer scrutiny. In 2023, the Strike 3 legal community watches one Florida defendant got closer than anyone else ever had. However, right before it went to trial, they settled out of court. Sad we don't see the information, but we will have a chance to see what's in there because guess who they tried to sue? Meta. I think Strike 3 bought off a little bit more than they can chew. And I'm for this fight. I think Meta has the money to fight them. And I think Meta will. In fact, Meta is. So now we have a copyright troll versus a bunch of hackers at one hacker way with more money than almost every other company. I don't see this going in Strike 3's favor. And I really want to see Facebook open sourcing this black box code. Oh, I'm for this fight. 2 scumbags fighting each other. And by the way, what I find interesting isn't it funny how the company that has been accused of torrenting at least 23,000 adult films for training artificial intelligence doesn't seem a problem with this artificial intelligence talking dirty to your teenagers? Almost like you should keep your kids away from Meta. But if Meta and Strike 3 would like to duke it out in the courts, spend millions of dollars, and unveil the black box software, I'm all for this fight. This is epic. Let's do it. Let's go. Oh, boy. Well, there's our quick lines. I hope that was a fun one to end on. And I hope we kept it family safe enough. Anyway. Let's have a look at our SillyVille for the night. So first up in SillyVille, this family cat turned chef by adding a dead mouse into their soup. Now, this one here is interesting. Enter the realm of conspiracy theory, folks. Where's my tinfoil hat? Because there seems to be a TikTok trend going around of cats putting mice into families' food. And now all of a sudden, cats are putting mice in the family's food, something they've never done before. Guys, the brain rot is now affecting our cats. The internet has finally come for its main audience, the cats. There you go. Whoops. We got videos. There's a couple videos. Let's have a look at these videos. Yeah. I hope that's not a copyright thing. There was music on that. I don't know. I might have to fight that out. I'm going to mute these. All right. Here's another one. If it loads. Okay, that one's, we can't see much there. Oh, this was a good one here. I have no idea if these are AI generated or not. I'm not sure. But they are definitely fun. So I don't know if you have real world experiences. I know that my kitties are not allowed near the counter when we're cooking, so hopefully we don't. And but hey, the good thing about having the cats in the van here is I'm not going to have a pack rat problem. So there's always that. But anyway, just beware that cats might be putting stuff in there, because even your cats are getting brain rot from all the TikTok videos. If you need to abolish TikTok from your house, go ahead and do that. All right, this one here follows on the line of political, and it's just hilarious because there's some commentary I want to have about this. All right, so hackers threatened to leak data after breaching University of Pennsylvania to send mass emails. So one quote from the email that was sent out, basically hackers got into University of Pennsylvania and they have sent out a bunch of emails to their listservs from their email addresses. One of the lines of the email says, "We have terrible security practices and are completely unmeritocratic." Read the email. "We love breaking federal rules like FERPA, and all your data will be leaked." So the actual whole email is here, and there's some bad wording in there, but we'll read as much as we can. University of Pennsylvania is a bleak, elitist institution full of woke retards. We have terrible security practices and are completely unmeritocratic. We hire and admit morons because we love legacies, donors, and unqualified affirmative action admits. We love breaking federal laws like FERPA. All of your data will be released, and Supreme Court rulings like SFFA. Please stop giving us money. Warm regards, University of Pennsylvania. Okay. So we don't know who's behind the hack. We don't know if this is a right-leaning group, a left-leaning group. We don't know if it's a foreign interferer. We do not know. And of course, based on it, some people are going to say, "Oh, it's people on this side are doing it." We don't know who did this yet. At least there's no speculation here. We do know that somebody got in here, and we also know that a lot of international people do this. We know this is a tactic of some people doing this to get people on one side, some people doing it to get people on the other side. Who really knows? I am going to focus here on they broke in and did this because apparently, yes, the security is bad. Maybe they are very unmeritocratic. Maybe this was an absolute easy to fix issue that a diversity hire didn't know how to fix, that somebody with more skills might have, but they didn't want to hire. I don't know. I can't tell you. Messages were sent from a variety of different Penn-affiliated email accounts, such as the GSE, and as purporting to come from several senior members across the staff. Now, where this gets political is this deals with the fact that there is was an executive order, I think, coming from, or was it was either, I think it was a communication. I don't think it was a full executive order. I didn't get a chance to dig into that as much. But effectively, it was a compact for academic excellence in higher education. And they push us out to a lot of universities to say, hey, if you would like to consider to continue receiving federal funds, we have some things to work on here. And University of Pennsylvania was one of the ones that pushed back and said, no, we're not going to do this. And it is allegedly in response to this. Now, again, is this a foreign interferer? Is this somebody on the left trying to make it look like somebody on the right, or is it somebody legitimately on the right doing it? We don't know, and I'm not going to focus on that. What I'm going to focus on is the response from the university and what the compact called for. And because this is important, and this is very important, because if we're talking about the purpose of a university is to educate, the universities have a lot of work to do in this country because they have not been about education for a long time. All right. So in the compact, it asks universities to abolish affirmative action in hiring and admissions and to discipline departments that purposefully punish, belittle, and even spark violence against conservative ideas. All right. So let's break this one down first. Actually, before we break that down, I'm going to look at Jameson is the president of the university. He wrote this about this statement primarily about the conservative thought. One-sided conditions conflict with viewpoint diversity and freedom of expression that are central to how universities contribute to democracy and society. He was saying this on the basis that says, what do you mean we have to have a focus on conservative views? The point is that President Trump is saying, broadly speaking, across the universities in this country, and I can only think of a couple that this does not apply to. Broadly speaking, if you want to have a conservative come in, it gets shouted down, bullhorn down, mad people get them to stop coming, and a conservative basically can't, and when they do show up, they get shot. That's a problem. That is a fundamental problem. When you say the purpose of the university is to have diversity of viewpoint, we want diversity of viewpoint. Unless those conservatives come, they can't come. What the president is saying is you cannot push back against conservatives speaking at your university. He's not saying, well, you must abolish everybody on the left. He is saying conservatives have just as right to come to the table and talk as everybody else. That is all this says. As far as affirmative action in hiring and admissions, Harvard legitimately caught and fined for raising standards for Asian students and lowering standards for black students. That's affirmative action. Why do Asians have to be smarter and blacks can be stupider to come to the same university? That's a fundamental problem. If we are about equity and or equality, it has to be a standard basis for everybody. That's what he's saying. Because affirmative action served a purpose in its time, but it is something that has long since been gone and has even inverted itself. Because if affirmative action was there to say we have to increase, particularly was focused on increased black workers in the workplace, fine. But what about an institution that comes out and says, if you're white, don't apply? Well, that's problematic too. So let's abolish affirmative action and focus on who is the best person for the job, who meets the academic standards, and that's what determines who's here. And hey, by the way, if someone is conservative, you cannot be backlashing them or preventing them from coming or shooting them when they do. Compact signatories would require a freeze in tuition for 5 years, offer tuition-free education for students pursuing hard sciences, cap international undergraduate enrollments at 15%, and require standardized tests like the SAT for admissions. I had to take SATs to get into college. I had to take GREs to get into grad school. There's a reason for that. Because when you allow a bunch of doofuses who can't add into your college courses, it completely destroys the education for everybody else that needs to know the higher level math. It's the same reason that No Child Left Behind was a stupid idea. Tuition freezes. You know what? I think that's a fine idea. College is too expensive. We should see tuition declines. That's what we should see. We should not see college prices going so high. See, when I went to college, I could pay, I think it was 75 or 80% of my college from a part-time job. Right now, a part-time job doesn't even buy your books. It should not be that way. I'm not saying, free communistic education for everyone necessarily, although there's places we could easily discuss that if we're talking about the government's funding the university. Why not? Especially groups like Harvard that are sitting on so much money, they could literally fund 100% of tuition for the next 50 years and still not have a decline of their endowment. I don't think they need our $3 billion or $8 billion, whatever we were giving Harvard. All right. Capping international and undergrad enrollment, 15%. I think that's a good idea. Let the international students go to colleges in their places, in their countries. These are American universities. They are for American students. American students should not be whistled out by having tons and tons and tons of people from international countries. Let the American students get an education. Maybe you allow it to bump up to 20 or 25% if you do not have enough enrollment from qualified undergrads. Okay, it mandates that schools enforce policy. The compact mandates schools enforce policies that marginalize trend. Okay, this one here, I am not sure it does this. I think that this is TechCrunch, which is a left-leaning publication. I think this is TechCrunch reading and something that's not there. If I remember, because I do remember when this first came out, I just didn't get a chance to research it. I think what it basically said is women cannot compete in men's sports. Men cannot compete in women's sports. People have to use their biological gender restroom. I think that that's what it had to do with. If you call that marginalizing people, I am going to disagree with you. And if we cannot come to the table and say, telling men you can't compete in women's sports and telling men you can't go into women's restrooms, if you call that marginalizing them, we have some serious conversations, because men are biologically defined as having XY chromosomes. It is genotypically and phenotypically confirmed. If we're talking about an institution of higher learning, maybe, just maybe, we should think about that when we're talking about where do people go. So, was this right-wing hackers mad at the school for not doing this? Possibly. Was it left-wing hackers trying to do this to make right-wing look bad? Possibly. Was it some international interferer? Possibly. We don't know. I just thought that their letter was a little humorous, and I thought their purpose was stupid. Because, frankly, we have a lot of work to do in our education systems. And I left academia. I was a college professor years ago. I left it because I saw the writing on the wall, how bad it was getting. I'm like, nope, I'm peacing out. All right, and our last one here, ducking annoying, why his iPhone autocorrect function gone haywire. Short answer, they handed it over to AI. That's right. Oh, come on. Why did my highlights not show up? All right. Anyway, I'll do the best that I can. My highlights aren't showing up. But if you feel like autocorrecting your phone has been getting haywire recently, inexplicably correcting words such as come to Coke and winter to W-inter, you're not the only one. Basically, it's gone absolutely crazy ever since AI has been forced on this crap. It changes thumb to THJMB. Why ever it does that? 6767. I don't know. It's gone mad. Different forms of autocorrect. So the statistician pioneering the work on autocorrect for Microsoft, it's a little hard to know what technology people are actually employing to do their prediction because it's all underneath the surface. One of my favorites down here is they're talking kind of about sometimes it's the context. What about trading one legitimate word for another legitimate word based on context? Advanced cases autocorrect has decided if a real word you're using is it actually appropriate for the context, or if you're probably meant that your teenage son is good at math and not good at math. Okay. I hope your teenage son is better at math than math. Otherwise, we got problems. All right. So auto-correcting a word that is suggesting in real time a user might have meant there as opposed to there is far harder. Usually involves math. The computer decides statistically if by graph you were meant to say giraffe, which is only 2 letters off, or the homophone such as graph. Different spelling. So those are kind of different things. Ultimately, though, it's gotten bad because they handed it over to AI. How wonderful. All right. There's our SillyVille. If you want to pick up some Switch to Linux stuff, we got shop.switchtolinux.com. We got t-shirts, we got hats, we got a bunch of other stuff over there as well. You can jump on over there. And apparently my light decided to stop working. That's why I forgot to turn on my power supply for my light. My apologies. All right, there we are. Good thing it happened at the very end of the show there. But hey, serves me right for not doing that. All right, let's go ahead and have a look over at the kitties, and we'll get the kitties some kitty treats. Hey, buddy, I want you up on the bed so I can give you some kitty treats, okay? Stay right there. Stay right there. Where are you going? Come here. All right, the kitties have been fed. Let's see what we got over here. A bit of Pop OS for you now. Let's see. Is Hyperlink, by the way? Okay, nothing else going on over on Rumble. Odyssey. Let's see what we got. VPN paid for anonymously with crypto can stop anybody from seeing what you are doing. No. If once you log into a site, you have gotten rid of all form of anonymity. There is a lot of ways you are tracked. An IP address is not the only way you are tracked. You are tracked a lot of different ways. Tom has an irrational fear / hatred of AI. No, I don't have a fear or hatred of AI. It's just AI has serious fundamental problems that we have to solve before we start hoisting it on the world. Thing about Canada is our government is so corrupt they spend the tax money lining politicos and their cronies' pockets instead of like cops and flock cameras. That is true. Okay. Yeah. Gender is a linguistic construct, masculine, feminine, and neuter. Yes. Sex is a biological thing. Yes. Men can be feminine, but they're still male. I think you mean male. Yes. It's true. Okay. No, I don't need to study a bit of linguistics. I'm good. No, I think left-wing people make themselves look really bad. Not right-wing people generally don't. It is a neutral third person. He is masculine. She is feminine. Yeah. All right, and we got 35, 37 watching over on the tubies. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh dear, my comments went crazy again. There you go. Okay, does that push does not seem natural or pushy? A call to other. Let's see. A Microsoft SQL server, good one. Yeah. Okay, I think sliced meatloaf is better than sliced bread. I don't know. I don't like meatloaf though, so I don't know. Imagine using MS SQL server in Azure for that. No, I mean it was probably a like a MySQL or something else. It was just on an Azure server, and it was like the standard type of backup file you'd find in any form of SQL server. Let's see. Oh, we got both kitties hanging out on the bed again. They did it all organically this time. St. Louis needs more volunteers. LND E7 to replace my Windows 7 Pro. There you go. That works. To each their own. Disagree with Windows 7 being overrated. Still love Windows 7. Yeah, Windows 7 was fun. I prefer such rich user interface over flatness. Yeah, I love the skeuomorphism of it all. Installed my Please router looking for some cool things to do with it. Anyone came up with Rob Braxman? He's doing great. Yeah, he did a really good video the other day on the Windows TPM. You should have a look at that. It's definitely an excellent video. Yeah, there's my 10-minute mark a long time ago. Yeah. I run on my desktop. Wants to scan all my data and drives that boot up. You can install Pi-hole on pfSense. I don't think you can install Pi-hole on the pfSense, but of course you can install Pi-hole on a Raspberry Pi and push pfSense through it. Of course, you can set your DNS. What's the alternative to Google Maps that's as good as Google Maps with privacy in mind? Yeah, the challenge, like with privacy in mind, I don't really know of one. I found that MapQuest is horrendous on a phone. Like on a phone, you cannot use MapQuest without logging in. Like, what in the hell is this nonsense? I don't know if it's a bad UI of the app or whatever else. So if Google, like, and I can't do Google Maps on the phone because Google is entirely blocked on the phone. So I found if OpenStreetMaps does not work for me, then I found the one that works for me is actually Apple Maps on the phone works. So I've used that a couple times, although more often than not, I use my OSM and offline maps, in combination with Google Maps is usually what I use. Yeah. Just because you pay for service does not mean you get privacy. That's good. Yes. GS maps are good. If you can find them anymore. Yeah. Official Google Play Store apps can contain malware. Yes. If Windows is needed, why not use a VirtualBox? Yeah, you can always do Windows inside the VirtualBox too. But depending on what you're doing, it may or may not be a good option. Neighbor just left after walk-in saying, I need to sit for a few minutes. She's sauced. She left. You got to contact her talking to her. Hi, Google. Might accidentally order some unicorn meat. Hey, Alexa, order unicorn meat. Confirm. There you go. So Home Alone kid did a crime. Oh, Kevin did a crime. Yeah. Well, the parents did in modern day anyway. Leaving an 8-year-old unattended at home alone. That's a crime. You get to be 12 or 13 before, in most states, your child has to be 12 or 13 years old before you can leave them at home alone. In fact, I think almost every state. Yeah, we used to, that was part of our training when I was doing youth mentoring. If a parent was not home when we dropped kids off, we had to either stay with them or contact the parent and drop them off in an alternative place. On-premise, no need to worry about having a Microsoft account, not even Linux. There you go. University probably has bad security. That much is probably true. Yeah, probably. Playing any size by question. Do you recommend a non-third-party reporting security? That is something I have not had a chance to look into, and I'm curious about it. So I do want to start looking at what security cameras systems would be good. Other than basic IP cameras, which are pretty good in many of the times. But yeah, they're more often than not right now, cameras are questionable at best. So I don't know. We'll have to research that. And I don't know, maybe Louis Rossman has ideas or something too. I know he has a big website, a bunch of stuff on it. DEI equals not diversity. Natural diversity equals diversity. Yeah. Versus discrimination. Let's see. Quality of opportunity is great, like accommodation for people on the spectrum like me, or accommodation for people in a wheelchair. Equity of outcome is what comes. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you need to make sure that that people can be accommodated for the legitimate issues that they have. That is definitely true. But at the same time, when you're trying to be like, you have to have an equal percentage of the population, except for those white guys. Keep those evil white guys out of here. That's a problem, and that's exactly what the challenge was. Put the 2 cats out. Oh, no. Well, there's my 2 cats. There you go. All right. Let's see if there's anything else just popped up. I don't see anything there. USA can be part of a... Yeah, USA can be part of a police state these days, unfortunately. Yeah, that's true. All right, I think we will go ahead and wrap up here. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will catch you guys next time. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.